Chap tales. Don't you wanna hear some chap tales? Hello and welcome to another chap tale. Okay, so I've been thinking about what to tell you, and I come up with this little memory in my head. So me and my wife Angie went to the festival. I can't exactly remember who played that weekend, but I know that we was on this particular night we was watching Beyonce like headlining the main stage, but a band that I love, Ocean Colour Scene, were headlining one of the smaller stages. So we're standing there watching Beyonce, who is amazing. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, Ocean Colour Scene to me is do you know what I mean, where it's at. So I'm standing there and I'm sort of saying, making deals with my missus. All right, we'll do 4 or 5 songs of Beyonce, then we'll skip over to the old tent or whatever it was that Ocean Colour Scene were playing in. And she agreed, so we watched 4 or 5 songs of quite an amazing set by Beyonce, actually. Put on a right show. But anyway, we skipped over to where Ocean Colour Scene were playing, made it just for profit in peace. So I watched the rest of their set until they finished or whatever. Yeah, great. Good night. And then so we're staying the weekend, we're camping, but obviously where I can't see, we get to stay in the old disabled camping area, which is, well, I wouldn't stay in the main camping area to tell you the truth. Like, we had to walk past that on the way to our area, and it's just a complete and utter. I mean, if you're 18, it's the greatest thing in the world, but when you're 40 or probably 35 at the time or whatever it was, it's just better to, you know what I mean, go into a nice camping area, security, toilets, everybody's being good people and just going to sleep in their tents. So we went back to the old tent, one of my fishing bivvies that I had. We climb into the old Witchwood fishing bivvy and lay down. And actually, I'll give you a little bit more extra for this story. It was funny because when we first got there and we set the tent up and all that, and we had bought these blow up beds to make it all nicer. So Angie's gone to the car to get some more stuff, and while she's gone, I've decided to pump up the volume. So anyway, I pumped her bed up nice, stuck it in there with her sleeping bag on it and all that, and then I've started to do my own. And I'm sort of like half in the tent, half out of the tent, you know what I mean, with this foot pump thing that I'm using my hands to pump it. And I just, you know what I mean, I beat me and pumped it too much. And it went bang! And so my bed blew up. I was very embarrassed because there's a lot of people around me setting up their tents and all that, and I'm sure they was all having a right laugh at me. I just jumped in the tent and zipped the zip there. And I laid the popped bed on the floor as like a ground sheet, and then stuck my sleeping bag on top of it. And it was not very comfortable, I'll tell you that. I was watching my missus up on this nice pumped up bed, and she's there all sleeping nicely, and I'm laying next to her on this. Oh God. Yeah, I actually forgot about that, but that was just a little extra bonus story. But let's get back to what I was actually going to tell you about. So anyway, so we see Beyonce, see Ocean Colour Scene, went back to our tent, got in our tent, had a little chat or whatever, and then decided to go to sweep. And yeah, Angie's fallen asleep and I'm trying to fall asleep. And anyway, about an hour later or whatever, I've decided I am dying for a piss. A wee, sorry. So I'm laying there and I'm contemplating waking Angie up. I'm like looking at her and I'm thinking, God, she's all nicely asleep, and do you know what I mean? And then I thought about it back like in the daytime where the toilets were from our tent, and I thought, yeah, I can get there. Don't worry, I can get there. So I've climbed out the tent and I've got this silly head torch with me. I mean, it was good when I used to use it for night fishing and that, but for making a little trip somewhere, it weren't very good. So I've got this light on my head, and then I'm trying to like weave through tents when you can't see, it's just a nightmare. But anyway, so I'm walking through these tents, and then I'm thinking to myself, right, so I'm going in the right direction. So I kept on walking, and then I've walked straight into some metal fence. And I'm like, oh God. And I was like, oh, don't worry. The metal fence was to the right of the toilets. I can remember. Okay, so I carried on like feeling my way down this fence, like, and then after walking quite a little bit, I was thinking, hang about, I've gone well, do you know what I mean, away from these bloody toilets. And then I was like, look, right, don't worry, I'm going back to my tent. I'll wake Angie up. She'll have to show me where the toilet is. So then I've looked up and I'm like, where the hell is the tent? I was like, oh my God, there's like a sea of tents. And I'm just like, so I've took the torch off my head and I've got it in my hand to try and like look at these tents, whatever. So I've walked into some tents and I thought, yeah, I must be a little bit further forward. So I've walked a bit further forward. So anyway, I've got this torch in my hand and I'm shining it at these tents, nothing like mine. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just thinking, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, I just felt a hand on my shoulder, and I looked around. It was one of the security guards, and he's like, "Excuse me, mate, what are you doing?" Like, it must have looked really bad, I've got to admit. Like, and then I said to the fella, I said, "Look, I'm not joking. I'm blind." I said, and I thought with this silly torch I'd be able to get out of my tent, go to the toilet and come and go back to my tent. My missus is asleep in the tent and I don't know where I am. I'm trying to find my tent. I don't know where I am. He said, all right, mate, don't worry. We'll get you back to your tent. He said, what does your tent look like? And I said, well, it's like it's a fishing bivvy and it's like green and black. And yeah, he said, right, it's green and black. So he's had a look round and he said, "Look, I ain't being funny, mate, but most of the tents in this field are green and black." And I was like, oh God. And he's like, is there anything else you can like think of that was near your tent? And then I remembered like when I was doing the old blowing the bed up in in the daylight, there was a guy next to us setting up some silly little orange tent that I don't even think he would have fitted in. But I suppose once he's drunk or whatever, he just crawls into it and you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, there's this little orange tent. It's like right next to our tent. It's like, he's like, all right. So he's looking around. He's like, I can't see it. He's like, all right, let's have a little bit of a walk. Hold my arm. So I've held this guy's arm and like he's weaving me through the tents or whatever. We're looking around for a good 10 minutes or whatever. And I'm thinking, God. And also at this time, I am about to explode with piss. I am about to turn into the wee mountain. Like, so I'm dying for the toilet still. And we're looking around and I'm just like, oh my God, what's going on here? And then he said to me, oh, what's that? Oh. And he's looked over, he said, I can see something orange. He's like, come with me. So we started getting closer and getting closer and getting closer. And And then it was weird because there was like some lights in his security hut thing, and it was sort of shining, so I could see the top of this orange tent, and I was like, that is it. My tent is next to that tent. So anyway, we're getting closer. He's like, okay, there's 2 tents next to it. And I was like, look, my tent is a Witchwood fishing bivvy, and it's like the door is on the side rather than the front, so you've got more of a bigger opening door. And he's like, yeah, I can see it. So he took me over to it, and he's like, are you all right now, mate? And I said, thank you so much, mate. And he's walked off back to his office, and I've unzipped the tent and climbed in. Angie's still asleep. I was like, Ange. She's like, what? I was like, I need to go to the toilet, babe, please. Can you take me? She's like, yeah, of course I can. And I was like, I let her take me to the tent. I didn't even tell her at first. I went to the tent, right? And then I went to the toilet, thank God, dying, thank God. And then we've walked back to our tent, right? I'm holding her arm, whatever. And then I was just like, you don't even know what's just happened, do you? And she's like, what? And I was like, oh my God. I said, I just tried to go to the toilet on my own, so I didn't have to wake you up. And I walked into a fence, then walked about a mile away, and then got lost in the middle of a field of tents. And then the security guard come, and it was just mental. I said, and I've just woke you up. The security guards just walked me back here, and I've just basically unzipped the tent, got in, zipped it back up, and then started waking you up. And she's like, you're lying. And I was like, seriously? And she's like, why didn't you just wake me up, you idiot? And I was like, yeah, maybe I suppose I am a bit of a donk for doing that. Yeah. But yeah, so ended up getting to the toilet just in time, got back to the tent, and yeah, got back in the tent, and Angie fell back to sleep pretty quick. And then I actually ended up falling asleep, yes. And I remember waking up the next day and thinking, God, that is horrible. Yeah, okay. So I hope that you enjoyed that little chat tale, and nice one. I will speak to you soon. Mwah. Chat tales. Don't you wanna hear some chap tales?